Hello and welcome to this episode of the Nutrition by Karmen podcast. Thank you so much for joining me, whether you're listening on Monday morning or another day of the week. Welcome, and I really hope you enjoy this episode. So this is a bit of a different episode than ones I've recorded in the past, and actually this is the 10th episode, if you can believe it. And I kind of thought now would be a great time to speak about my journey over the years, how I got to become a nutrition coach, and all of that kind of stuff. Because if you have followed me on Instagram, you'll have seen sort of my transformation over the years. As well as know a little bit about my background and growing up and the things I was involved in. But if you're new to my podcast, you might be wondering, who is Karmen and, how does she have the knowledge that she does speaking on nutrition and the topics that she does? Is she legitimate? Is she full of crap? All of that kind of stuff, which is totally fair. And, I actually really enjoy listening to podcast episodes where somebody and the host is sort of speaking about themselves and just how they got from A to B, because usually there is a bit of a story there. And so this episode is all about that, my journey, through elementary school, high school, and where I am today, and sort of how I got into this whole field. So if you're interested in hearing about that, please stay listening. And as always, if you enjoy any of the episodes I put out, please take 2 minutes, not even, to leave me a 5-star rating and review. I so appreciate it. And the more reviews, the larger the audience I can reach with this podcast. So that would be amazing. And again, I also post these podcasts onto my YouTube channel, which is also Nutrition by Karmen, the same as my Instagram handle as well. And so if you watch there, please be sure to subscribe and leave a comment because it really, really does help. And thank you so much. Okay, so let's just dive right into this episode. So just so that you have a bit of a background on me, I was always sort of an active, very energetic child growing up. I played sports pretty much all my life, up until just a few years ago, actually. 2019, I think, was the last year I played soccer, but sort of growing up, I played soccer, field hockey, ice hockey, was always on some sort of team sport, camps in the summer. Through high school, I always chose PE instead of a home ec type of class, although I did love cooking. I loved that class in high school, so I always took usually cooking and PE. Because I loved food and it was so fun to make your own food in those classes and then get to eat the food. And it's funny because growing up, I loved my life and I love my life now, let me be clear. Have and had a great circle of friends. And, if you were sort of looking at my life from the outside in, you would say, this gal has so much energy. She's having a great time. And that is very, very true. I had a very fortunate upbringing with wonderful parents. We always went on family vacations. We were always away in the summer. We would go away on weekends. They would sign us up for camps and all of that kind of stuff. So, any activity that I wanted to do, I was enrolled in. So that was really, really special and super amazing. And, when I was kind of thinking about doing this episode, I was kind of reminiscing about, all the things that I still remember to this day. So I am 35 years old right now. And, there are some comments that I remember that were from elementary school when I was, I think, in grade 4 or 5. So I was probably 9 or 10 years old. So like 25 years ago, growing up, kids on the playground, all that kind of thing. But I'm just gonna read out a few comments that I remember so vividly to this day. And there's a reason I'm reading these out, and it will all make sense sort of towards the end of the podcast. So in elementary school, someone came up to me and said, if you can't touch your thumb and your middle finger around your wrist, your opposite wrist, that means you are fat. And so I thought, oh my gosh, okay. So I took my right thumb and my right middle finger and I tried to wrap it around my left wrist. And if you're on YouTube, I'm showing it right now. So it's like you wrap it around like that. And so this person said if I wasn't able to touch my thumb and my middle finger, that meant I was fat. And when I tried to do it in grade 4 on the playground, my fingers did not touch. And I thought right then and there that, oh my gosh, that means I am fat. And, obviously that is ridiculous now, but it's still something that sticks with me. And I just remember being one of the only people that wasn't able to wrap my fingers around my wrist. But like, how ridiculous is that? Anyways, that was one comment. Another comment was, it was either that same year or the next year. Remember in elementary school how on Halloween everyone dressed up and it was such a fun day. We would go into the gym, have candy and all that kind of stuff. And so one year I was an elephant for Halloween. What a cute outfit. At least I thought it was a cute idea. So I bought this gray sweatsuit. It was the same matching top and pants. And then I put on a trunk. I had a little tail and I had a little like makeup on. And I thought this is just, obviously the most comfortable costume because I was in a sweatsuit, which is pretty much what I live in now. But anyways, one of the boys came up to me and said, you don't even need to be wearing that costume because you're already big like an elephant. And, that is horrible and awful. And I am 35 years old now. That happened about 25 years ago. And, obviously now I don't think anything of it. But back then, that is just, such a hurtful comment to be made to anybody, no matter what. And I know, people are immature in elementary school, but clearly that stuck with me throughout sort of the course of my health journey. So that was another, not very nice comment that I got in elementary school. Now, moving along to high school, was always active, like I said, in a group of friends that played on the same soccer, field hockey team, all that kind of fun stuff. And there was someone in my circle of friends at the time who was constantly critiquing her body image, what she looked like. She was always commenting on how fat she was. And, she was so critical, so down on herself all of the time about her body image. And for me as her friend, I didn't see what she was talking about. I thought she looked fantastic. She was active. She was healthy, playing sports. We had a great relationship. And to me, I did not see what she was seeing in the mirror. And, so what really hurt and stuck with me was that, we played on the same sports team. And there was a day where we had to pick out our uniforms for that team. And she wasn't able to be there on that specific day. And so she said to me, Karmen, we're the same size, so whatever you get for yourself, get the same for me. But so here I am thinking, okay, she's just gone on and on about how fat she is, how gross she looks, how she's disgusted with herself. But then she's saying that I'm the same as her. And so that was not a fun time for me because I was actually quite hurt, even though, I did not see that in her and what she was talking about. But for her to be so negative about her body image and then throw me in there with all those negative comments, I really started to become super self-conscious about my body and myself. So that was, another not so nice comment. I also had a couple of boys over the years, years back, I should say, just say I became unattractive because I put on weight. And, that really hurts when you're a teenager growing up because, that is the exciting part of going through high school. You're meeting new people. And then to hear somebody say, you're ugly basically because you're fat it's horrible. So I just want to say, I'm not saying all of this to get sympathy or for people to feel sorry for me. But I just kind of want to be able to paint a picture for you on sort of, someone, if you were looking in from the outside, looking at my life, my journey, you'd see me running around on the playground, playing sports, happy, all that good stuff. But then these comments are happening here and there and, kind of no one else is hearing the comments and I'm the only one hearing them and they're affecting me behind the scenes. And so those are the things that really, really hurt, but nobody actually knew probably about any of them because I don't think I actually told anybody. The other thing as well is that, there's such an obsession over size and weight when we were going through high school. And, especially during high school, I would do something kind of crazy. So if I bought a new piece of clothing and it was a size anything other than a large, if it was a small, extra small, medium, whatever, I would keep that tag and put it in a little bag because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm a medium or I'm a small, so that means I must be skinny or I'm, small. And, because the tag didn't say I was a large, and oh my gosh, it's just, I feel sorry for my past self because that is a lot of stress and pressure to be on a young person growing up. And I really hope things have changed now. And hopefully things have gotten a little better out there. But, so I remember it was grade 8 or 9. And if anyone's listening, do you remember Miss 60 jeans? These were the talk of the town. All the popular girls were wearing them. Everybody got them at Aritzia. And I just had to have a pair of these jeans because they looked great on everybody. And I just obviously wanted to fit in as well. And, I kind of begged my mom. I said, can I please get a pair of Miss 60s? And she was like, oh, they're kind of expensive, which I think they were $120, which actually that compared to jeans now, not that bad. But anyway, so I offered to split the cost of the jeans with her. And she agreed. And so I went to Aritzia on my own. And, I really didn't have a super, super nice pair of jeans like that. So I was so excited. So the gal that was working at Aritzia, she handed me a size 28. I could barely get them up past my knees. So I thought, oh gosh, okay. So 28 was way too small. Went up to a size 29, also too small. Size 30 was too small. Could barely get them up even halfway past where my thighs were. 31 was still too small, and I just thought how many sizes do these go up by? And I remember it so vividly that there was a huge pile of jeans and this gal was just digging through the whole pile, going to the very bottom, and she said, we have a size 32 and that's our biggest size. And I thought, oh gosh, well, if these don't fit me, this is going to be a, disaster. I'm not going to feel good about myself. But anyways, they did fit. And, I was so happy that I got a pair of Miss 60 jeans, but I was so disgusted by myself because I thought, how can I be the biggest size that this store carries? And yes, even though I had the jeans, it was exciting. I wore them and all that good stuff. But deep down, I thought, I really hope nobody asks me what size jeans I'm wearing, because that would have been absolutely horrible. And luckily nobody ever did. But that's just such a unfortunate feeling when you don't really know how clothing size actually works. Like right now in my closet, I've got things from a size 2 to a size 12. Like there's a huge range because clothes are just made so incredibly different. I've got jeans now that are size 8, 10, I don't even know. Like, so it's a big range. But back then I thought that I was doomed because I was the biggest size. And so looking back kind of at all that, there was definitely some sort of body dysmorphia, body image issues that I really struggled with deep down, but never actually told many people about. And, as you've probably seen, if you're someone that follows me on Instagram or have seen my stories, I also just tried so many diets in the past, hoping to lose weight as fast as possible. And, I should backtrack just really quickly here, because I remember growing up, I had absolutely no control over the amount of food I ate. I would sit in front of a really amazing dip that my mom would make with tortilla chips and just sit there. I would dip the chip in, eat it, keep going, not hardly taking a breath. And then was actually ill after, throwing up awful. Same thing with, my grandma and grandpa would take me and my sisters to a restaurant every single week. And it was so fun for us girls because we got to choose. So if it was my week, I got to choose where we went. And then, the next week it would be my other sister and then my other sister. So it was fun. And I chose one time, it's not there anymore, but in North Vancouver, there used to be a restaurant called the Sizzler. And this was a restaurant, it was like an all-you-can-eat buffet. Amazing. And especially as a kid. So, you just think you can eat as much as you want. Like clearly that's what I thought. And so I would have a normal dinner, regular, whatever it was, chicken fingers and fries and whatever else. And, I was probably full at that point, but because it was an open all you can eat buffet, obviously I had to go back for some soup. And then, that was done. And then of course I had to go to the sundae bar and get vanilla ice cream with sprinkles and all the toppings. And it just went on. And lo and behold, walking to the parking lot, I was sick because I had just eaten way too much food that my body could not handle. But I had no concept of food control, satiety, any of that kind of stuff. And I think that's a really important message as well to put out there, because that is something I certainly struggled with as well, other than the, body image kind of stuff. And yes, so back to sort of teenager years, I tried every single diet you can probably think of because I wanted to just lose weight as fast as possible. So I tried Weight Watchers. That lasted all of 2 weeks because I just felt embarrassed going to those meetings, being sort of a younger person in a crowd of, older women at the time. I thought, why am I here? I tried the Atkins diet. I bought those Slim Fast drinks and bars. The cabbage soup diet, which if you've listened to my episode on fad diets and detoxes, I go into detail about my experience trying the cabbage soup diet. And yeah, it's an eye-opener. So I tried that. I tried the Master Cleanse. I tried doing no sugar for a month. I did a Wild Rose cleanse, a low carb, no dairy, Whole30, paleo. And I even went completely vegan for 6 months without doing any proper research. The job I was in at the time, my boss was a vegetarian. She followed a vegetarian and sometimes like a vegan sort of lifestyle. And she had the most amazing hair, amazing skin. She was, healthy, fit, active. And I thought, oh my gosh, like it must be because she's vegetarian. And so I bought, that book, Skinny Bitch in the Kitch. Oh my gosh. And just, completely cut out all animal products, all dairy products without doing an ounce of research. And, the effects of that diet, I lost so much of my hair. I used to have such thick hair. Luckily it's, getting a bit thicker, but it's nowhere close to what it used to be back then before I did that. It was just a really, really bad scene. And so I didn't really do any sort of research on any of those diets that I tried because they were all promoted as the glitzy, the glamorous thing that we saw in magazines or that was spoken about at school or the latest thing that the popular person was trying. And so, as I'm sure you can guess it, none of those ever worked. And thinking back now, I just cringe, because I probably spent so much money on books and pills and cleanses. Like, it's just crazy to look back on. But the truth is that I did try all of those things and they never ever worked. And, so that's sort of, all of it. I could go on for much longer about sort of that upbringing, and part of loving food was that, and this is something I work on to this day, is that if there's food out and in sight, I have a really hard time trying to resist it. Someone that I listened to on a podcast, Alana Muhlstein, she says, if it's in sight, it will be in your stomach. And that is so true. If there's a plate of cookies out there, if there's some chips, if you're looking at those, you will probably eat those. And so that was the case as well for me growing up. If there was food on the table or our family had just finished dinner, but there was like the dishes on the table, I would reach over and pick the morsels off of my family's plates, even though I wasn't even hungry, but just sort of that grazing, snacking, not really knowing, when to actually stop and listen and ask myself, am I actually full or am I still hungry? Now, the one thing I would say I was so consistent with over the years was my exercise. And as I mentioned before, I always played on some sort of team sport. I loved going to the gym and going to different fitness classes. I loved moving and being active. I still do. I just love the feeling of it after. You just feel so good after you exercise. But the issue there was that I thought exercise was the thing that would help me lose weight. And so I could never figure out or understand, like I was exercising 6-7 days a week, mainly doing cardio, and nothing was working. I was actually more hungry because, you're exerting more energy, but no weight was actually coming off. And I just thought, this is ridiculous. But again, if you listen to my podcast on the fad diets, detoxes, and hours of cardio, I know now that, daily walking is enough and we should be focusing on exercise as something that we do for our mental, physical, and emotional well-being and our health instead of something that we do for the number of calories that we burned. And then, oh my goodness, more than a couple of years ago, as I was going through university, the big thing that was out there was CrossFit. And I thought, okay, well, look at these people doing CrossFit. They look like absolute superstars, super athletes, so fit, so muscular, just, oh my gosh, like that must be the new thing that will work. And so I tried CrossFit. I signed up with a local gym and I think I did CrossFit for 1.5 years, but I fractured both of my shins because of CrossFit. And it was absolutely horrible, as you can probably imagine. CrossFit was a very intimidating environment for me. I felt very insecure going into that gym, into that space. because there was no equipment, and the coach there said, you are the machine, like you're the body, you're doing the work. There are no, whatever gym machines there. It's just literally an open space with a rubber floor and all these heavy weights. And so it was super intimidating to go there, but I convinced myself, and there was definitely some pros to it for sure. But again, I felt like it was something that clearly was not sustainable. And if you've tried CrossFit, I have nothing against it. I think there's a workout for everybody. And I know some people that absolutely love it. And I think that's great. But I think for me and the gym that I went to, there wasn't as much one-on-one attention probably that I needed, because I wasn't a heavy power lifter or had experience in that. And a lot of the CrossFit workouts have to do with getting as many reps in as possible. And so probably almost 100% of the time, I was always the person that was done last, which was, not a great feeling when you're trying to keep up. But at the same time, I feel like I wasn't even paying attention to my form or doing the movements properly, because I just wanted to be the fastest one so I wasn't last. But with that and, doing CrossFit 3 to 4 times a week, playing soccer, the result of that was over-exercise, undernourishment, and I fractured both of my shins, which then resulted in not being able to exercise for a long period of time, which was so hard for me, because that was my true escape and passion and thing that I love to do. And, having doctor's orders not to do any movement was very, very, very difficult. So it was a tough time, sort of, when you look back and you talk about it sort of in this way. But I think it's important to address the journey, because I am somebody that now helps people lose fat and get healthy. But I also just think it's important for people to know that I was never a skinny, healthy, it just never came naturally to me growing up. I've always had to work at it, and I've always had to, get through the latest cleanse or fad or whatever it was. So I've gone through a lot of struggles that some of my nutrition clients have gone through as well. And it's not great now, but I think having actually lived through it really helps me help them, because I actually really understand what they're going through just because of my own journey and, my experience as well. And so, yes, when I fractured my shins, I thought, oh my gosh, well, this is it. What am I supposed to do? And so this was in 2014. I decided to sign up with a nutrition coach. And I did 8 weeks, and, it was okay. I wasn't totally into it, to be completely honest. I was half in it, half not. But the weird thing I remember about that nutrition program was one of the questions that was asked in the very first questionnaire. I do this with my new clients. You fill out a master questionnaire, which, it will ask a ton of questions about your activity, your stress, how do you sleep, do you smoke, all of this kind of stuff. But in this questionnaire, there was a question, and it says, is there any celebrity or athlete you're wanting to look like? And at the time, I thought, oh my gosh, yes. So I actually went back to find my answers, and I said, I would love to look like Beyonce. She's got such nice curves. She's so strong. And then I also said Kim Kardashian has a great figure, would love to look like her. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, in just 2 months, will I kind of look like Beyonce or Kim Kardashian? Oh my goodness. So that to me was, a really, really tough question to ask new clients. And I can't imagine asking any of my clients that now, because again, it's a comparison game. And if you have a history of growing up where you're being compared to people in high school, people calling you fat or whatever it is, it's just another thing that can be a trigger. And obviously at the end of those 2 months, I did not look like either of those celebrities. And so that was sort of a big disappointment for me. But, eventually my shins healed and I was able to get back to sort of a normal exercise routine and nutrition as well. But it really wasn't until about three and a half years ago in 2019 where I just looked at myself and I said, I really feel disgusting. I just didn't feel good about myself. I felt puffy and bloated and fat. And, it was something that, again, I was going to spin classes and gym classes and all this sort of stuff, but I was kind of bearing how I was feeling in food. And I am a person where, if I'm complaining or something's bothering me, I have to take action on that or I just drive myself absolutely insane. And so I took it upon myself to sign up with a nutrition coach, which I did. It was actually, I've spoken about him before, Marcus from N1 Fitness, who is fantastic. And he really helped change my life and get me back on track. And sort of over the course of his program, I was doing some more digging into nutrition and health. And, I felt, things were fairly strict on that particular program, but I loved it because I thought, okay, this is exactly what I need in order for me to feel good about myself. And yeah, so I ended 16 weeks and I lost 30 pounds, which is a lot of fat to lose in a short period of time. But to be completely honest, I was so strict. I remember I had a work Christmas party in Whistler and I actually packed my own dinner first and I ate it in the hotel room before I went to the dinner. There were other events where I was eating a cooked meal prior and then I would say, oh, I'm fine, I've already eaten, which was true. So when I say I was strict and I barely drank on the program. It was just very, very rigid and restrictive. But again, I had the fat loss results and I've continued that on sort of myself and I lost an additional 10 pounds, which is fantastic. But I sort of over the course of that journey and, into the pandemic, I really was just so fascinated with nutrition because I felt like there was something that I hadn't come across before in the health and fitness industry where you could actually eat all types of foods that you love while living the life that you love while also getting fat loss results. And so, I just kind of became fascinated with this. And, obviously the COVID pandemic happened in 2020. We were all sent to work from home. And the company I was working for at the time, a lot of their businesses, things had really slowed down. So there wasn't so much work to do. There still was work, but it was way less than what it used to be. And so I actually decided to enroll in the Precision Nutrition coaching program because I thought, worst case scenario, I do this program and I just get a total knowledge dump, which is amazing because there is a science to nutrition and that is what it's all about. And as I was going through the course while working from home, I didn't really think that, I would make anything of it. But I think so many people changed jobs, careers, industries because of the pandemic. I think we had so much downtime during 2020 that at least for me, I was able to stop and kind of think about what it was that I really wanted to do with my life. And I just thought as well, like, life is so short that we don't know what is coming around the corner. Like, nobody anticipated this pandemic. What if the next thing happens? Who knows when? And so I finished the course, and I just started to think, like, I could probably do something with this. And it's so scary because I was in a wonderful job with amazing people and I loved it. It was close to home. But then, the pandemic started easing a bit. We had to go back to work. And I just thought, like, I don't want to be doing this anymore. Because my passion and my joy came from learning about nutrition and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, it was in 2021. I gave my notice at my job and I totally quit, which was so scary because I had, a comfortable salary that I could rely on. And I was quitting that to do something that I had no idea if it would pan out or not. And obviously, to this day, I'm still scared about it, but looking back now, it's been a year and a half. I would not change a thing. And the most rewarding feeling is just getting the texts and the emails and the photos from my clients that have told me that I have changed their life in some sort of way. And, obviously this is such a leap of faith that I took to start my own business. It's definitely not as glamorous as I maybe thought it would have been. I thought, I get to work from home. It's going to be great. I've got my own schedule, but I have probably never worked harder in my life. But the difference is I absolutely love it. And so if I'm doing emails at 8:00 at night or, replying to somebody at 9:00 or 6:00 in the morning, I am not bothered by that because I am so passionate about it, which is unbelievable. Because if somebody, especially any of these people that were in my life at the time that were making negative comments towards me and my body, if, going back then to say you're going to be a nutrition coach and you will have gone on your own nutrition journey, losing 40 pounds and changing other people's lives. I'd be like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, what a joke. That is not going to happen. But that is what has happened. And so, it has been such a journey, but I think it's a really important journey to share with all of you listening. And not just to say that, here I am just like sitting back and all of that kind of stuff. It is hard work. But I also want to say, if you've been in a job or a situation that just isn't totally fulfilling you, just know that you can take a leap of faith and it might be the best thing that's ever happened to you. And I always say to myself now, and my husband also is such a cheerleader and he's so supportive of all of this. Worst case scenario, Nutrition by Karmen will be an awesome side hustle. And maybe there's going to be a day where I have to get another 9-to-5 job, because it's not providing the lifestyle that I want. And that's okay, because I will look back and be like, oh my gosh, like, remember when I quit my corporate job to start this thing? I had no idea if it was going to work. And so worst case scenario, can always get another job, but best case scenario, just keep doing what I'm doing and hopefully continue to change some people's lives. And it's been a year and a half of a really fantastic learning curve for sure. But it is something that I do not regret doing. And I'm just so happy I did, because at the end of the day, if you don't have your health, you have really nothing. And so for me, it's important to keep up with the habits I've learned, and it is still a struggle sometimes to really be disciplined. And so it's something I've worked on time and time again, year after year, but I've gotten to a place now where I know what to do for myself and my body. And so that is sort of what I'm teaching my nutrition clients as well. And yeah, I've worked with over 45 clients to date. Hundreds and hundreds of pounds of body fat have been shed. And something really special and one particular client win I'm going to tell you is I had a client that, she was overweight and she really wanted to have a child. And so I was working with her, and I didn't actually know that part until kind of, weeks and weeks and weeks later. And she was doing such a fantastic job. She was losing fat at a sustainable rate. And then all of a sudden she, was having all of these crazy mood swings and cravings and all of this stuff. And I thought, I don't know what's happening. And I was like researching and figuring things out. And then she told me that she was actually pregnant. And she didn't know she was, but she took a test and she became pregnant. And that was something that she was struggling with before. And only this past December 2022, she had sent me a text message telling me that the baby had arrived, a little sweet, darling baby, a baby boy. And she sent me the most unbelievable text message, and it basically said that she believes that I had something to do with bringing her baby into this world, because she wasn't sure if that would have been possible without my nutrition help. And so, if that's true, I don't know if that had anything to do with helping her get pregnant. But oh my gosh, talk about the most rewarding feeling ever. And, I'm getting teary just talking about it, because she has a little baby boy that she's been wanting for so long. And so that is just so incredible for me. And so anyways, I wanted to end on such a happy, positive note there. And if you've listened all the way through, thank you so much for listening. And I hope, that might have shed some light into sort of my journey growing up and the things I struggled with nutrition and exercise and friend groups and all of that tough stuff. But I came out on the other side. Nutrition by Karmen podcast is here. Nutrition by Karmen business is here. And if you want to work with me, sign up for one-on-one online nutrition coaching. You can go to my website and apply. And I would love to help you get your fitness, your health, everything on track so that you can feel as amazing as possible, because it is possible. And so again, thank you for sticking with me, for supporting my business. And if you have any questions about my journey or, anything I've spoken about today, please send me a message or send me an email. I answer 100% of the questions I get, because I want to be as open and transparent as possible. And so hopefully that was maybe an insightful episode for some of you. Some of you might not have known some of that. Some of you may have. But anyways, I just wanted to share and to know that, we all have a journey. We all have a past. We all have struggles. And it's sort of how we get ourselves out of that to become really the best versions of ourselves. So thank you again for listening. Please remember to leave me a rating and review if you enjoyed this episode number 10 of the Nutrition by Karmen podcast. And I will see you on the very next episode, next Monday, everybody. Take care.